I am recording this today. It's January 29th, which is Wednesday. This is the Wednesday after Kobe Bryant died. I wasn't a huge basketball fan. Of course, I knew about Kobe Bryant and I knew what a huge icon he was for people who follow sports. And I guess the time he was coming up, I was busy with my own life, and I wasn't paying attention to that stuff. I knew that he had retired. I knew that he was, supposed to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I also knew that he had gone into making, I think he made a short film that he won an Oscar for. As a movie buff, of course, I was more aware of that and surprised that this basketball guy had become a movie maker, and but I knew he was a huge icon, especially for the Laker fans. And I was really thinking about horrible things Sunday. I was caught up in my own life, really worried about my own situation, and I was Googling like mad. And I went onto some site, and at the top it said Kobe Bryant killed in helicopter crash, and I thought that was a fake thing because especially when you're searching for things, all kinds of weird headlines pop up about celebrities being dead and stuff like that. I really honestly thought it was fake, just like everybody else, even somebody who wouldn't have considered myself a fan. And then I'm there and I'm like, this makes no sense. Just thinking about the situation makes no sense. I think about our lives on earth. I think about how tricky the world is and how it seems like you can't win. And I know it's a downer thing to think, but life is so hard for everybody. I've said this a million times, but that was my feeling. I'm like, no matter what, you can't get it right. You can do everything, and somehow you're gonna slip through a crack. Some horrible thing's gonna befall you. Now, in the case of him, it sounds like he lived his life exactly how he wanted to, but that he was such a huge icon, that he meant so much to people, that rips a hole in the world. I thought that happened when Robin Williams died because of the way Robin Williams died. When people like Prince die, and Michael Jackson's a whole nother thing because nobody was ever as big as Michael Jackson. But when these people die and they mean so much to people, it has to me, it's like it leaves a crater in the earth, like when an asteroid hits. It's something that can't be healed. But we're 3 days on now, and people are still talking about it. I'm not saying they shouldn't. It's just what I'm surprised at is I'm hearing more and more people talk about his death and how shocked they were. Is that something that's been slightly different about me? Is that I always thought about this. I said before that my mom passed away almost 5 months ago now. It's been a horrible time. It's been a really horrible time. And she was older. She was 84 years old, but she didn't seem to be sick at all. We went to the emergency room because she was having some bleeding, and they were monitoring her, deciding whether they should give her a colonoscopy or not. And then they finally decided they were going to give her one after a couple of days. And I left her at the hospital at a little after 10 at night, and she was supposed to get the colonoscopy the next morning. She was trying to drink that stuff. She's perfectly fine. Nobody thought she was as old as she was. And she had gone to work, the Friday before, and she was supposed to go back after Labor Day. But on Labor Day, on a little after 1 o'clock, I think it was. I really don't know what time it was. I got a phone call that woke me up telling me that she had a massive bleeding event and that she was unresponsive, and they were going to try to call her. They were going to try to revive her, and that I should come. And they did not revive her. So it was sudden. She wasn't sick. She didn't have any diseases. She took no medication. It was just something that happened. And my thing is that she had me when she was 2 weeks before her 39th birthday, and it was just me and her. So I grew up totally aware of the fact that my mom was older than all the other kids' moms and all their parents, and I worried all the time. And the lady who had babysat me when I was little, she died when I was like a freshman in high school, but she smoked and stuff like that, so she had ended up dying from cancer. But so from that point on, from like the age of 13, I was always worried that my mom was going to die. So I always thought about this. And when I went away to college and she lived here by herself, I was always worried. If every time I talked to her, I made sure I told her I loved her. I said all the things you're supposed to say, and that was every day. I called my mother every day. But, I knew that anything could happen at any time, and I never let anything go unsaid. And because I grew up that way, I did that with everybody. I mean, there's nobody out there now who I need to say anything to or make amends with or anything like that, because I try knowing that I could go at any time. Anybody could go at any time. It doesn't matter how healthy you are. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter what kind of doctors you have. Everybody gets in a car. If you get on a bus, you get on a plane. Everybody eats a sandwich. You could choke. Anything can happen at any time. You could eat, some contaminated food. You could catch a flu. You could get anything can happen. And I think when you live knowing that you could die at any time, anybody could die, and the healthiest person then it's easier for you to make sure that you say everything you need to say. And if you should suddenly hear that they shockingly died, of course you'll be upset, of course you'll be distraught, but you won't have that regret of, gee, I didn't talk to them more, I meant to call and I didn't. Just anytime you say goodbye to somebody, whether you say goodbye to them and you plan to see them at work tomorrow or school tomorrow, or if you're putting somebody on an airplane or you're getting on an airplane, you don't know that you're ever going to see people again. And I guess watching a lot of reactions, I'm just a little bit shocked that people who, they're not little kids, but they're of a certain age where they should know that at any time, anybody, the youngest person, anybody could pass away. And especially people who live such a lifestyle where they travel so much. There have been so many celebrities in recent, like Kevin Hart had a bad car crash. Tracy Morgan had a bad car crash all in the last few years. And, most people get into automobiles. So I just feel like people, for whatever reason, are still telling themselves that no, people die when they're old and they're sick for a long time and they're in the nursing home and everybody gathers around them around the bed and says, but that really, yeah, that happens. But a lot of people, that doesn't happen, and you're better off to live a good life that you want to live and to feel like you're not setting yourself up for regret that you can't fix. Just, live each day as if it were your first and live each day as if it were your last. And if you know anybody who, my high school headmaster used to say that every day not every day, every week at the end of the Friday at the bell. But the thing is, just know that if you can live your life knowing this could be my last day, or you look at your children and say this could be their last day. It doesn't have to be a school shooter. It doesn't have to be a disease. It doesn't have to be anybody at any time. You may never see them again. So treat people the way you really mean to treat them. Even if you're angry, if whatever, have integrity in your daily interactions with everyone, so that if you never see them again, you won't end up setting yourself up for huge regret that you will never be able to fix. Just live knowing anything can happen at any time.